Good morning, or whatever it is, wherever you are. Alright, so we've got this thing that writes 85 tiles, reads back 85 tiles, because in practice these will mostly be, we'll process one each day and it will be yesterday's stuff. But we only end up touching 38 tiles. So at most, we need to load 38 and possibly less. And the question has been, where do we do that? Because that does have the unfortunate effect of moving some file loading logic down into what was just some straight like data processing. Well, you read a file. You have to deal with, let's see, you get a server, you get a file. It has some meta information about that. I started doing a tile object and I ended up not wanting, well, part of the issue is that this is like the tile data. This thing has to be able to create these on demand as we just sort of discover new tiles. I need file information at that point. Also, this process needs to have, well, how are we getting stuff into here? We are copying tiles from a previous checkpoint. So that is just a set of tiles. Read tiles is specifically one of these objects. Is kind of reaching and creating a tile right now. So that tile object might need to be extracted. That is building up a thing, which is getting passed down to you to bootstrap from. Alright, so we are loading a possibly very large file. We tried to set things up where as long as we're holding on to that file, it can be kind of cached in memory. Wouldn't have to download it multiple times. Although I guess I could do like download the temp file type thing. So what you need is not a fully loaded tile set. What you need is to know which things have data. Well, I could create sparse tile objects that load. That would be a form of the list of known tiles. It's a base tile, read tiles. Well, that's the read index. This actually goes through and does the read operation. But to pass around the information we need to do file paths and things, we need to have like some sort of tile factory. Oh. Hmm. I've been using plain old hashes to keep my tiles around. All right, so step one, and maybe should tile be its own thing, or should that be like an inner object of a tile set? And then tile set does all of the things that actually would create would end up creating one. So you wouldn't normally need to talk about tiles per se. Hmm. Tiled placement log. So you're gonna be. Are you gonna be tile set? Uh, Naming is hard. All right, so I might still need to be looking at some operations here. We think we want to move you over to at least here. We think that this is going to be involved here somewhere. So you're going to have your inner tile set. You're probably going to have the high level path information. Let's see. Right now we don't do server addressing. That's something I might need to think about. Go on here. You would need the time this tile set is supposed to represent in general. Which we don't know when we're building this. Well, if we load one, we know. I mean, maybe this is kind of going to represent a span. You need to actually have pathing information because we need to lazy load. Which is going to need, well, there is going to be the time. And a zoom. Uh, we won't actually have accurate times when we're creating the updated ones, but we can still get that from the updated flag. And this was relying on output path. Well, output path and file system. Output path was... yeah. So we've got well, output path then file system? This seems historical. Oh my gosh. I almost want to have like a way to CD in a file system. To a certain extent, output path, dir, and zoom are all output path. The dir has some applications in giving us our initial timestamp. So if I needed to have a time, although I guess since it's an unknown time, I could just put it 0. It'd be just it's all unknown. Well, it's kind of nice to have this all as one statement if as I move things around. In terms of how we allocate things, because I think at one point I had considered doing like a tile coordinates and then times within there. So what the... okay. So then this will be addressable by the keys that we used here, which were chords. Which I think it goes like that. Wait, can I actually... how does that go? Alias method? Well, it would be alias method to that, so it's like... and you need a... I guess you would actually be a tile. I And we could actually use our internal tile here. Oh, I haven't, do I have any reason to expose that? No, I mean, at least would make it private. All right, so that has the information. Oh, you're also going to need, well, you will have the capability to be initialized with a tile set index, although that might, if you have the ability to load, you're going to be controlling the format of this. Could conceivably be controlling the format of the index files as well. All right, so all we've done right now is extract something. We want tiled placement log to say that it's tiles. But you need all the file system information to do this now. Surely we should be able to allow a blank tile set. It's a data structure versus a... But the tile set has to be able to load things if we want to be able to lazy load. So do you actually have to be... so we still have to pass that information through here? Or actually pass it the tile set? Oh, and these things need to be made on demand too. So containing it all here doesn't necessarily do us a whole lot of good, because every time we create one of these, we have to have all the file system information. Because every span here, like, is a new tile set. Now, I've been using this thing that does all the reading to create objects of tile placement log. But they've sort of turned into the chunks. So maybe I need to separate the log reading, which is just another kind of file format for these, from all the instant stuff kind of moves over to tile set. Because we have one of those for every chunk. That means that has to have server start and base arc. And all the file system. File system output path are pretty much constant. Dir is old. Dir isn't necessarily a constant thing. Well, if it needs lazy load, no, every tile should have its own address. Zoom will be a bit of a constant. We've got spans. We've got file system sets of tiles. File system output path zoom. So a tile set is a collection of tiles at different times. There will be an index file that represents that. There will be individual tile files, so those have their format. I kind of like the idea of having operations on tile sets. And then there are like save load operations on top of that. We've got, so not only do I want to restructure things, I want to have a path where we're working at all steps in between. So having a tile set object is a step, but we don't actually lazy load until we can get all this stuff. So that lets you say tile set. And then anywhere we deal with tiles, when I see we've got tiles dot da 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 da. So really become tile set operations, and this starts to collapse this thing into that thing. So you really need to be able to implement tile operations. Okay, so these are implicitly tile operations now? But anyway, you see, you had a time. Or that thing has a time when it's done. Well, we still have this method here. But you need to have an S-end. If we want to put that in there. We need to look at where this is being used. All right, so copy key. Tile set database. Okay, out.tiles, out.tiles. I feel like this entire tile placement log thing is going to be kind of moving direction. Tiles chords equals. Now this is where we do have to actually have a timestamp on it. They're just an array of addresses. That gets a list of tiles from updated tiles, which actually is pulling out the sub-object. Yeah, so how do we add a tile at a timestamp? Dudes. Hmm. So I could actually have this take XY instead of chords. It just means that this would be constructing the array pairs every time. Okay, so those chords have actually been constructed for this express purpose only. Although I guess the tile needs it. So this is a case, we're not going to be doing this exact thing in the future. We're going to be saying, oops, we need that. So we're going to be able to directly assign to a new tile with that timestamp. Okay, so that didn't work out so great. And that should also be the return value. Tile.tiles.at. Okay, so we also need timestamp there, so it's not like we could still. Not that. So when we load our tile placement log, we're putting in a bunch of dummy data and setting the end point. And we're really loading a tile set here. And actually, we're not even going to read this per se. We want to create a tile set that can load from. Board, tile placement log. Yep. Nope, no S. Okay, so that was actually just a discarding that. We're kind of discarding that. Oh, no, no, we need tile. This is a little bit of a container. So the tile placement log probably is not necessarily going to use a self object. We need to have, well, span keeps, well, now we're calling it a span that keeps track of all the timestamp. Those are somewhat relevant to a tile set in the sense that we have a start time and a end time. There could kind of be a seed relevant to it. Although this kind of replaces one object for another. So you would start taking on like all of this stuff. Have an arc. That's maybe. This used to be breaking arcs. I think I'm doing that deliberately. Okay, no, I'm not doing that deliberately. Arcs are implicit with every break. And I added things to do breakpoints, which are not arcs. Oh, no. When we do a breakpoint, we specifically copy the arc. Okay, so that's all arc reset stuff. This is all breakpoint specific stuff. That is sort of specific to span management of this. So is a tile set a span? Is a span a tile set? Well, I guess span is a slightly more abstract thing. I've just been using it to represent the sort of endpoints. The result, uh, reading a tiled placement log produces a stream of spans slash tile sets. Does a tile set have a span? Does a span have a tile set? Well, let's think about data files. We have a file that is just spans by itself. We have individual files that are tile set. But we also have tiles where we have some meta information. We're typically going to load up a list of spans that will not have tile set. If we have a tile set, we're going to want to know boundary. Does that mean a tile set has a span? It's represented. This thing is going to be creating spans and tile sets. This is just an accessor property and a span. We somehow made that readable. Okay. Oh, I didn't actually do the edit here. Now, I was just using a bare structure for the other version of this, which was in uh, yeah, so that was just straight up JSON read. It was just a very simple data file. Which, I mean, I guess that could be. All right, so maybe Take this a piece at a time. You. How often do we update span? That is assigning a span. That could really be any advisor. Actually, tile, it's gonna take over a lot of this stuff. I don't think I'm doing server, but that's something I might need to be doing. Oh, so you actually need accessor. Right, because this thing is updating. So if this thing was tracking arc, you may need to be tracking arc. When I load you up, I need to do send. So if you're going to replace that object, check arc somewhere. To process the file, we are going to possibly generate multiple spans, may or may not generate multiple arcs. Every span will be associated with the tile set. Right now, we're using that next. Copy over all of our information. Properly speaking, a span does not necessitate an arc. Man, we're not even lazy loading. Trying to refactor to the point where we can like have data structures that support lazy loading. So a span is like just this bare data. We use that for our span data file. We want to be generating spans as we do this. When we're generating arcs, when we're generating tile set. So do we keep like current span, current arc, current tile set? Well, you can't just return the triple because sometimes it's a new one and sometimes it's not. So every time, right, because we're using arc start indexing, we're using span start indexing. So that's doing the deduplication. Every one of these is going to be considered a tile set. So each track spans and arcs deliberately? Now, if I'm reloading you file, we were just able to parse and set before. Well, if I'm reloading from a file, we've got a base too. And that's just too many parameters. We just treat it as a struct. What do you do? We have a next span, which copied the data and maintained the arc. But didn't give you a base. Hmm. Oh no, because copy key did that. Start. Previous dot end. So at that point, this would have an end. We don't get streamlined style unless we do an operator for this. All right, so we've got that object. I might actually have to take a little detour here and set this up to separately track arc span and tile set. So we're in here, we have out. Right now we get the arc there. We can figure out what that's going to look like. Arc equals start. Wait, where does the arc.s start? So we would need to touch all of those and get all of the news. Hash.new, object over. There's an out new. So this, without all of the extra arguments, was implicitly creating a new arc. With similar parameters. So this was start. Not so much for repeating that. New over. Okay, so that was. We do breakpoints. Oh, we were using next span, which was copying the arc over, so it's unchanged. So actually, I guess I could have changed the field on this ahead of time. So you become this arc out.tiles. It's not necessarily the same just yet. Okay. And we know we're going to start thinking of out as a span with the idea of eventually. Oh, well, it's not quite the same yet, is it? We've got to work out our resume. On a placements. All right, so you were just dealing with arcs straight up. You are going to be span stuff. It looks an actual span, and then the moment this is span. Really, this should be tile set stuff, which might focus us in on the things that we need to actually have on tile sets. Oh no, because this wants to be tile set updated tiles span.sn. And tile set, tile index. Reading. It'll be a tile set. All right, is that I need the other one forget. So I don't have these problems. Okay. Tile set. Oh, okay. So it's not update tile, it's tile index. That needs that. Yeah, that runs. I don't know if we're actually doing arcs and everything properly. Okay, so, well, that actually is dealing in arc objects at least. Or no, arcs array is just the arc array and the spans array. Even this thing was never really dealing with arc objects. Hmm. Now the other thing we have here is we have output map log, which is using some of the same code, and it's tiled placements. So you really just need the tile set. I might, maybe out of this, I'll end up being able to split this somehow, so we're not doing as much redundant work. All right, so at this surface interface, we could read and write spans. Although this span values, so that's kind of nice for what we're doing with it. Log file, base file, zoom. So does that mean tiled? When we've got out, you're still out dot tiles. We pretty much yield. So our copy operation. and our base. You just deal with that there. You deal with that there. So that should be a thing on span. Uh, nice arc. Arc. Well, I still have to create them. I just don't have them here. Arc.loadLog. Right. That's the size analysis. Okay. Okay, so we're doing copy key, we're doing tiles. Start end, next span. I think we could probably extract tiles. Except we had this implicitly anytime we change. Well, oh, there's the copy key operation. Which updated the base and the tile set copy. The tile sets have a base. Tile sets do not. I've been storing that with, because a tile set is like all the directory. Sort of the metadata. Span. Right, which was of getting its way into span. So what we have to watch out for is that all gets updated. Okay, so we call this, well, there's the initial resume, and there's next span. That gets called once, so when we get a placement and it is a breakpoint, that would be a span replacement. and the tile set replacement. So I guess we actually need to kind of start doing these in parallel and then just not using span for a bit. All right, so you've got a next span, which, but right, because copy key copied the base. So we've got a next span. This would be span equals the next only gets copy called once. This also resets the tile log. From previous. Wait, do I actually need to copy you? We were making a new object that contained the tiles. Is this just one rolling tile set for this purpose? I mean, we're assuming that the consumer will not keep the things we return around. But copying all of these tiles is going to be memory expensive. Is this just a tile snapshot? I mean, it can almost be a and an arc snap. Okay, so yeah, we need to, well, if we keep them around, we need to reset the update. So copying our data, we get a new time, same coordinates. We initially copy time. We reset the updated flag. Okay, so we're making a new tile object, but we're not doing full copies on these. So it is going to be shared state. It's just and there's still going to be some memory churn involved. Do I actually change the tile set? Or do we just reset update? Actually, at that point, we could go through and set the, could like go through, yeah, we could say, okay, finalize tile set, go through to all the updated ones, set their time to what we now know as our timestamp. Would actually be the final timestamp of the stuff before we that would reset all the have to be careful with the updated flags actually. I can't like set that and reset them at the same time. So tile set is we're asking for all the updated tiles are what we need to save. I'm not sure I want to be mutating data, but we're mutating the base data anyway. Oh, this would be like new tile set copy key. So reset all of your information. Copy key. Each tile is a straight up copy of no meta information. Tiles have timestamps. Tiles have updates. Okay, so there's next span. The other place we did copy key is on resumption, which, what would we get in a resumption? That was an entire placement log. Uh, The main thing is going to be the tile set itself. Oh, I was relying on file merging full file arcs. I have to go back and check how that works. Maybe that's some meta management. Uh, 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 uh. Says, oh, we've already got that window open, but I wanted it here. What does a resume look like? We've been passing as well, no, we've been loading everything up in advance. This is where would be a lazy loadable tile set. So all we get is options base is this, which does a copy key on, well, base is this thing. We use send and we use copy key, which does tiles and send. Now that also sets the base of our brand new band. Oh, my question was, could I just take the tile, well, I do need this time for the new span, and I need the new tile set. I used to have an object that bound those together. Now I don't. Which brings us back to things like, does a tile set have a span? Does a tile set? simplest thing to do is to pass them separately. Wait, where is my initial tiles? Oh, I backed out of doing that. Now this is awkward to do. Yeah, I need to have a temporary object. I did something with this down here. Just to practice managing this. It's all out dot tiles right now. Oh, no, no, it is tiles, because we're not in the context of this thing. Or is this, if we're given a tile set, we resume from like options tile set. Should a tile set have a tag for that's really what we're using there is that base value. Right now it doesn't have anything of that sort. Well, eventually, as we're building it up, we're not going to have that final. I guess everywhere we update the SNs on the others, we would update the tile set as well. I kind of don't like that it could be out of sync like that. Uh, 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 uh. So you're going to have you're going to have a base tile set. Well, I figured out how we're loading this. Base tile set is actually, then this is going to be a whole tile set. It means to lazy load this. But we're trying to get away from this thing as an object, and this is what we've got right now. For base tiled. This is going to be determined once it would be per zoom if we loaded it. Oh, we've got a base file. Process. Base. Okay, so we turned our merges with stuff into a base. The base is going to be the log file. Spelled it. That's not even right. No, we're using that to select a appropriate span. Er, Timestamp less than or equal to start. Most recent one that matches that time frame. And that is going to be spans. And we'll just use our end timestamp. So I may need to separate determining the span for that from reading the tiles. We're going to need to pass both. All right, so that was base tiled. We're going to have base time. Well, that's going to be, that would be base span as it currently is. All we ever use out of that, the end time. So that can fail because we've got no base time. Uh, then if that happened, we might have a base tile set, which still needs the zoom. And this was using log file timestamp. That was the start of the file. I mean, really, this just needs to be any time around there. Oh, okay. I actually removed. That might not be as incremental of an upgrade. We're going to have base time. We have to determine that. Given log file, base file, and zoom. We have to pass it here. And then we also have to do like base tiles. Tiles base tile set. Based on time and zoom. And I redid read tiles. I don't need the S end. It'll be kind of implicit in some of the tiles. And this is some of the code that needs to move around. But I messed it up a little bit by over refactoring. So we need a base time that gives us this. And those generally should be set at the same time, but the arguments alone cannot guarantee it. And it'd probably be a set.new. Well, that completely breaks the resumption until we get everything straightened out. Still a full load. That was the copy key operation that I was trying to clean up. I think we're done with these. Uh, almost. And expand still uses it. think tiles is the last thing I needed from there. Span, tile placement log. Tiled. Ah. Okay, load, resume. I think perhaps out equals oh, I didn't go around and update all these. Out equals new. Span equals span dot new was pretty much based on that. I was probably supposed to be doing that. Or was that supposed to be arc? I don't see any time I would update one and not update the other. All right, which means there's nothing to call those on. This doesn't really exist as a thing right now, which odd. Put test. Probably have to like clear everything here to make sure we've got a clean set. Okay, that does not have resumed data. So we have lost our index data somewhere. All right, so resumption, our right index is the tile set. Well, is this the result of what we're reading? I mean, we definitely read the 85 tiles. You go tile index. Does this look like, what does this look like? That looks Okay, I see at least one thing that's more here than there. Two of them. So it looks like we loaded this, unioned it, and then didn't remember the timestamps for this. Which suggests that's a problem how we read and restore the tiles so they have time. Tileset.new. Really the decks. Okay, when we loaded those, they all had timestamps. Updated tiles. Well, those shouldn't have all been updated. Well, did we actually write them? I've run this many times in many versions. Oh, okay then. Tile set, tile index. Tile dot up s end tile dot time. P tile dot. I guess we're gonna have chords. Okay, so first one. I should probably do a length. That's saying they're all updated. I feel like that can't be right. So it initialized to false. This was the point of copy. Tile set dot copy. Tile set dot copy. Oh, that's tile dot copy, which okay, they kept in the same file. Add a breakpoint. This is not a breakpoint. Right, so I'm not doing a copy. Wait. Right. When we load them, we're effectively updating them. So it's dirty. Oh, you need a time now, don't you? Oh no, it's new. It's always tileset.new. It has to set its internal data. Okay, there's a bunch of false. Okay, all the old stuff, all the new stuff. So it would have been writing out all the files because it had them marked as true. Hmm. Okay, so that's gone. There is no instance of this anymore. Status, click added. Ban. Tile set is a thing, span is a thing, spans are recorded in files, tile sets are recorded in directory. But we have a tile set. I was thinking a tile set could maybe have file loading and really want to be able to say tile set knows coordinate times. I guess that would be tile objects that just but if they're objects you don't know if you load it until operation tile object needs how to load. Whole bunch of file system stuff. With the use level, we just want to be able to run through our tiles, grab them, update them. If there's previous data, we need to know it. Not previous data. Don't need to load that entire. What does tile do? Well, create tonight. We need to create tiles on demand, and we need to be able to restore tiles. Stored tiles need a file system. Whatever's creating tiles need to. Or do we have like different types of? Got a brand new tile, got a loaded tile, or a sparse tile that has a file system. Then when you create a new tile, you don't have to have the file system to have it again to write it back out. Does addressing a tile from the tile set imply we're going to? Not necessarily, because levels might not have to actually write something. We will have to load it, though. So if we address a tile, uh, tile set. Right now, it's lazy loading in that fashion. We have methods around these accesses, which should mean that we don't have to necessarily do this style anymore. And if a tile set had, well, if it had, well, if it had an index and didn't have tile objects, we would know if a tile was loaded by existence of the tile. We have sort of an abstraction here of whether it exists or not. So a tile set could be created with file system information and a list of tiles and times. It would then kind of own the tile format. Or maybe I have like a tile loader. The tile set would have the index. I guess a tile, if a tile could have the method, it could be more like a class method that took all the arguments for path stuff. And if I ever had to actually do multiple tile formats, that is something I might want to experiment with. We've generally only had one copy at a time so far. We've got path information, we've got format information. Right now, these are not like terribly fancy. The other map logs get a little bit fancy. Write tiles and read tiles. Uh, right. If I go through each, then we do that. We do the increment. We do that. Oh, now that we have a tile object, we can actually just ask. This is empty. Okay, this is right because this is only writing the updated ones that have an implied error. This is dealing in triples. So this is a uncompressed tile archive. Mm, could that be a tile set? Man, I probably don't want to do my loading object. I really want to separate. We need a file system. We need an output path. I guess any particular loader would only be one zoom level. And the way I've done this so far, it doesn't do like full triple addresses on this. Now, these are the directories, they're archives, they're kind of tile sets, but I'm calling tile set the collection. And these are, well, these are key tiles specifically. I've been lazy about tile. Um, so you need some of this stuff. And I think this is partly historical here. It gets used more in that order. And then you would had to write first, didn't I? You would write a tile object I should probably filter that out ahead of time. Did I add accessors to tile for that? Dir is tile dot time. But my updated tiles might not be properly set. So we does this need to be address tile object? Because when we read, it's going to be a triple. That we have to pass in. I could probably even splat that. But well, I splatted it here. Oh, you putting stuff in a tile stand. Which was making sure that it got recorded. This is loading a tile itself. Guess we do have to do this. I don't need, yeah, because that was recording it. So this is just, I might need to straighten that out sometime, but I was mainly doing pairs before. I would need the data and I would need all the addressing stuff, even though the addressing stuff ends up coming from the tile. So that's be okay. Then a tile set would be able to have I still don't know what this collection is called. Serving the purpose of a loader. So this is going to end up becoming more complicated. So on reference, you're going to need a loader and you're going to need a. You have the index. Does the loader have the index? Mostly want that thing file for. So index was triples. So if it is this tile set equals, most we're going to do tile set stuff. Uh, hmm. You use tile, well, use tile there, tiles length, tiles each. Tile set dot new at kind of covers the assignment. Yeah, we don't actually do that. And this was really to support the loader. So we only reference, and be checking this in every reference. So I might want to convert this into a hash itself. I need to map you into a hash. Is that... So I want tile chords or... And of course I did this. Not as chords. This is such a conflicted data structure. I can only do this if there's an... Well, the index is going to be an empty hash. So that, okay. If there is a loader... word. Uh... Now, what was I doing? Oh, I was copying before. So really, we kind of do somewhere have to be able to reset this. Now, I guess I could do a copy of the loaded tile, create a little bit of garbage, but it kind of has the intended freshness. Okay. And final placement doesn't have write tiles. It doesn't have read tiles. Oh, wait. One step at a time. So does tile set have the operation to write everything out? It's called a loader, not a writer. Well, this is going to do progress bars and the right tiles, but tiles is in each pair. Yeah, right tile. That should be fine. And these things are pretty lightweight. I still don't have a good name for it, though. Now, this is trusting the tile. So in practice, I'm always going to be writing this for a particular directory. And you could pass tile.time if you wanted to do that. I mean, I guess for that matter, I could do a quick test of the reader in a similar fashion. Would have been a better baby step. Right, because my other use case was... Dang it. Now it's going to give me a tile. And I just removed my tile set assignment method. I'm not quite sure how to... I guess well, I keep thinking back to like Elm functional style where you would properly define types then use them everywhere. just kind of figure out that addressing and use it universally. So we haven't changed our initializer to tile set. Tile 17. Huh? Ruby 17. Nope, that's missed the equals. Okay, we do in fact need this on here. Or maybe I just need to include it. I'm gonna fix one of them, so so it got past one of those. It got past a right. Missed a time somewhere. Right. Because the old code was times. Okay, so it doesn't actually need this. All right, so index. Okay, yes, some of these are updated and some of them aren't because we fixed that a little while ago. It claims it loaded stuff. That's the full load. We want to do. Okay, so that's base time. Uh, as we copy. Oh. That means anytime create a new one. We also have to update our index. No, that should only update stuff. Oh, but when I come to write out the index when I'm done, I also have to write out the index, including. Which why it might have been handy to have tile objects that support the meta. But you'd have to keep track of loaded or not. Why delete it? What does that even mean? I have to, as I carry forward, tiled placement log. New.copy. Well, it's got a copy operation. It could copy the index and the loader. Tiles are just the tiles. And it's not really copy key. So let's just make a new tile set off of that. Tile set. Uh, so you'll carry forward the ability to do that. We reset the tile state. The entire thing will get copied, which will reset the... Oh, the entire thing gets copied. Not from lazy loaded. Okay. So when final placements read tiles, it's been reading all of these things. So if we have a base tile set, so what do you have? You may have a tile list. We only need a loader if there's a tile list. And I guess just making an empty tile set to start with is the function handles that anyway. So instead of calling read tiles, we want to say and mm, and for now, well, I guess tile set also knows if it's loading something. Chords. Oh, I guess a loader. Read. Read path. Has all the necessary information. Didn't load a single one. Oh, because it was actually... No, it was a new log file, so it should have been a new run. Oh, this is... Well, it should only happen when we create a new tile. We'll pass through here. What? It never passes through here. Um... Um... Because I haven't replaced this. I moved that logic, and I didn't really move it. So that's actually getting every referent. Why are we seeing the same tile multiple times? Because I'm not assigning this? Oh my gosh. That, or assign that to one of these things. Does that do it? That seems a bit more reasonable. Or number of arguments. There's the path. All right, tile set. Self.class, this is tile. Wait, what? The heck happened here? There's gonna be tile set. Copy key previous. Copy key self. Oh, you had a copy key and a copy. Oh. I have to find every instance of that. Much change at once. So load tile reads a single tile. I think I was trying to change the name of the tile set operation, which is fine. Right, because copy creates the... Oh. You return self. Oh, right. There is object copy gives me a new one. There's object new copy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Tile.copy creates a new one. And then changing is changing. So that is meant to create a new copy. This is updating the current tile set to this. This is creating a new copy. Tile placement log, tile.copy, tiles.copies, the tile set operation. Tile set doesn't have that operation? Right, it's a brand new tile set. Tileset.new. Okay. And I did source control operations in this window again. All right, so that hit load the appropriate number of times. Well, it missed the appropriate number of times. Oh, and these were the actually new ones where we didn't load something. Okay, well, that's also useful. So that was the number of misses. Those are the times we actually loaded something. We don't know up front what our miss rate is going to be. So I don't know any way to progress bar that. Well, I did end up measuring the time length of the entire thing, so maybe I could add a progress bar to the reading step and dump it out every so many entries. All right. All right. Later time. Right. This is where we have to merge the updated tiles into the old tile index. Oh, well. Yeah. So do I update my index as we roll? I mean, we know we have a loader, we know we have that. And the index says we have a file, so we're going to hope, apparently. Or we have to create a new tile, which we either need to update our index and just return the index. Well, the index is a transformed version anyway. That doesn't mean kind of a set. What do we do with? We would kind of like to throw out anything that ended up being empty. So we can't just say, well, if we created a tile, then it's in the index. We can't just make empty tile objects. Well, check which ones were loaded. I could turn that in name hash format and then merge them. Then turn it back into triples. Mm. The merge direction matters for which one overwrites. If no block is given, entries with duplicate keys are overwritten with the values from each other hash success. The value for each duplicate key is determined by calling the block with the key. Oh, no, it was still override what wasn't These are overwritten values from each other hash from the other hash. So this would be index.merge. Dot map. This coordinate thing again. You know what? If you're a, well, you're a pair. I might be able to use flatten, but it's going to be key value. Since that's the thing, it passes. Or is that going to try each entry, each entry is going to pass an array of key and value. And there I go. I'm doing it in the wrong window again. Complex conversion of array into hash. Where is it complaining about this? Merge. Oh, right, because you mapped to an array list. Right, so to merge, I actually have to take this whole thing back to a hash. So we can merge it. Remove the duplicate keys. And that seems to have the desired result. It's not computationally pretty. So we've got like our index. But we actually sort of accomplished lazy loading. And that's kind of what we accomplished. We have to keep the total index so it can be written back out. Hmm. I might just have to fix that for a second. Figuring out what's going to be the convenient way to make it universal is like the hashes have to be pairs. it's often convenient to talk about it as a thing. Then you've got the triples with the time. And other times you need to break it out. And I can look at where I do the conversions and see if there are paths that we can streamline. I'm wondering if I could have run it where I just do individual map logs, and then you can come along afterward, make the index of things change at time. Their update, like, you have to use that information to keep. Anyway, that is a chunk of work, and I'm already a little bit late to move on and get some exercise today. That's going to be it for coding. I will be back in a little bit to do some Step Mania for a while, if anybody just wants to hang out. I'm going to break stream for that just to change stream settings and information and stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much from coding. So yeah, that's about what I'm usually on. So yeah, doing that plus the Step Mania, be going a little bit later. But yeah, I will be back in a few minutes. Bye-bye.